And the Emory James Museum is delighted to have Mrs. Fay Saunders, educator extraordinaire. Many persons may recall that she preceded Miss Rideau as the school principal for St. Andrew High. Mrs. Saunders, welcome.
Thank you.
The museum has been interviewing persons to ensure there is a video entry about personal journeys, any memories about St. Andrew High. When you think of St. Andrew High, what comes to you first?
What comes to me first? I was not at St. Andrew that long. I was there for 6 years. And what came to me first, something that has lived with me, is the whole attitude of the girls there. They were so organized and so well-bred, if you know what I mean. It was a different age. That was 1968. That was, and that's what I remember about St. Andrew. And I remember about the parents, and I remember about the old girls. I remember so many things about St. Andrew.
Tell us about your personal journey. When did you, where did you study? Your teaching practice. Tell us about that.
I studied overseas at the University of Toronto.
Wonderful.
School of Education there. After I did my first degree here, I was awarded an overseas scholarship and took me to University of Toronto School of Education, and that's where I studied, and that was well, of course, being outside of your usual position brings a great deal of benefit, and I found that very, very, very useful.
Wonderful. Was that a study in Canada? The first time going overseas, being on your own?
Yes, it was for study purposes. I had been abroad for quite a bit otherwise through the Ministry of Education. And, they have overseas groups going all the time, and I had been on more than one occasion. And that was the last one that I did.
What are your views on traveling? Do you recommend students to do as much traveling as possible, and what are the benefits in your view?
Traveling is always wonderful, and I think meeting people, different backgrounds and different information, I thought it was really wonderful.
Right.
And it is really an excellent backup for anything else you may do to improve yourself.
Right, right. So upon graduation, what were the next steps?
Listen, I was sort of doing all of this older, I was teaching for some years before I actually went to university. I went to abroad to do this study in education.
Okay.
So I had a lot of experience, and I have done a lot of traveling educationally across the world, Africa and places.
What countries in Africa?
I was in Nairobi.
Kenya, okay.
And I even went down to Ethiopia. Went into
Wonderful.
Ethiopia.
Did you see similarities to the students?
I was not there that, you would say when you go to these places on scholarship and that sort of thing, you don't spend a long time in this, so I really can't comment.
Okay, fair enough.
On that, I was mostly mixed up with the teachers because, I was across the world in international teacher organizations.
Right, right.
I was a vice president of the World Conference of Teachers for 7 years, and that's where I met a lot of people.
Wonderful. I understand too that you have the distinction of being the only president to date for the Jamaica Teachers Association to have served twice.
I I'm not quite sure about that, but it's pretty close.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure right at this moment whether since then there have been many after me, so there may have been somebody who was, oh yes, I think Paul, one of the persons serving now as past president, is his second term. I lost his sight before I was born, and my mother was a young woman. I was 24. They were 24, and she had to bring us up. She had to go to work because my father was not. And we lived in Franklin Town, and they sent me to Franklin Town Primary, where my mother had friends, because you're not supposed to be in the school at age 3. And they sent me over there, and they looked after me while allowed my mother to go to work.
Okay.
And from St. Hugh's, I got this
from Franklin.
From Franklin Town, I got a scholarship first of all to Wilmer's, but my two brothers, see them there, my two brothers were going to Wilmer's Boys School, and Wilmer's did not allow more than 2 members from a family to get scholarships. So
okay.
I also got a scholarship to St. Hugh's and went to St. Hugh's.
Wow.
And you know where St. Hugh's was? It was right in front of the Gleaner. Do you know where the Gleaner is?
Yes, I know where the Gleaner is now.
On North Street, right across the road.
Okay.
The St. Hugh's used to be, and then the Gleaner.
So this was your end. You stayed with St. Hugh's for
I
how
went,
long?
first of all, after I left school, I went to work with the government. I worked there for 2 terms and came back to teach at St. Hugh's.
Okay.
And I was at St. Hugh's for 21 years
Wonderful,
as a teacher.
wonderful.
And from St. Hugh's, I went to St. Andrew.
What would you say has been or was your proudest achievement at St. Hugh's and then at St. Andrew High?
Well, proud just being a member of staff and seeing how the girls are performing and living. That's, I don't have any particular proud achievement, apart from the fact that I was a teacher and felt that the students were doing well and growing up and that sort of thing.
Okay. You've also mentioned being a founding member of the Caribbean Council, Examination Council.
Right.
Tell us about that. How did that come together?
Well, you know, when I was in the classroom and getting involved with teachers, I got involved with Teachers Association. There was an Assistant Teachers Association and there was a Principals Association. And out of the Principals Association, I got involved with the Eastern Caribbean. And it is in the Eastern Caribbean, Wesley Powell from Excelsior, and Aubrey Phillips, who was head of the School of Education at the university, and Wesley Powell, and a couple of people. Right now, my memory is not as good as it used to be.
I understand. But, I'm 21 and I have the same problem.
And it is through those contacts with those people that there was a sort of integrated movement. It was, don't forget, it was a time when we were moving towards independence. And you know, the times we walk on the street at night to talk to people about independence and all of that, you know. It was a life that brought some fulfillment. And then I got through the Teachers Association, and I got involved with the Caribbean teachers, and at one time was a president of the Caribbean Teachers Association or something.
Wonderful.
So I've been around the Caribbean and I know a lot about education there.
What would you say is different about the way Caribbean people learn? We inherited a British system, and, you know, coming through.
There's not anything really different substantially. The fact of the matter is that the Eastern Caribbean has a somewhat more relaxed social ambiance. The people were not as, in Jamaica we had a set of people that are at a certain level that don't mix with people that you don't find that in the Eastern Caribbean. In the Eastern Caribbean, people are very much together, and they work together. And you find, this is not to say that there are not some special schools there that you can pay money to go to and all, but they are far more relaxed and people-oriented people.
Okay. As a female educator, did you get subjected to any form of prejudice?
No, well, you see, the situation that I occupied, I was headmistress of St. Andrews while I was at St. Andrews, that the then government asked me to come and serve in the government, and I became a member of the governing party, which was then Michael Manley, the Manley people. And it was then in that group that I became involved really in a funny way with the politics of. I didn't last because I resigned after 9 months. I was permanent parliamentary secretary in the Ministry of Education. They don't have that position now anymore. They have other things, but I was parliamentary secretary, and I really didn't enjoy that. And I went there in April and left at the end of the year. And when I left there, I went to become Secretary General of the JTA.
Okay.
And through that position as Secretary General, I met a wide variety of people. That's what took me down into the Eastern Caribbean. I became a member of the Caribbean Teachers Association, and you know, you get that wide span of meeting people and teachers at all different levels and different social backgrounds. It makes such a difference to how you think.
Right. The reason I raise that point, even in the 21st century, we have some women who are in positions, but their views and suggestions are not widely accepted by their male colleagues. And just trying to put the context of the 60s and 70s with a female being in a leadership position, I'm happy to hear that that was not.
Didn't really make any difference to me. You know, I made my way
Right.
to the extent that I became an international leader.
Wonderful.
At one time, I was vice president of the World Conference of Teachers.
Wonderful, fantastic.
For 6 years, I was vice president of that body. I met teachers at all sort of levels and in all different areas, financial areas and so on, and it really widened my whole course of thinking.
Who inspired you during your childhood to consider this career path that you...
I never considered it, it happened by chance. It's
Okay.
because when I came out of school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And as I told you, got a job down at Westwood for 2 terms, and it is out of that the whole thing developed.
I see.
I never knew what I wanted to be. I didn't have anything special. My 2 brothers are medical doctors. That one, this one over here on the right.
What are their names?
John Williams. They both won scholarships to Woolmer's Boys School. And in those days, you must understand how you get to go to a high school. Every Saturday, I have to go and take a special exam. You don't get it now, and the most they give in a year is like 2 or 3 people.
In the island or just in the parish?
Well, It turns out to be in the area where
Okay.
you come from. And they both won scholarships to Women's Boys School. Like the elder one, when he became the head of the mental hospital here, what is its name?
Bellevue.
Bellevue. He became the head of Bellevue, and the younger one, he became the head of Spanish Town Hospital.
Wonderful.
The older one, the younger one was the cut-up place, a surgeon, and the elder one was a psychiatrist. And so I was the youngest of a family of 4.
Okay. We will break and go to part 2.